It's no secret that New Jersey Devils 18-year-old rookie and 2019 first overall pick Jack Hughes had one of the worst rookie seasons of any first overall pick in the last 10 years. Hughes is an extremely skilled player and one that was drawing comparisons to NHL superstars like Patrick Kane coming into his first year in the league due to his incredible numbers playing for the United States National Development Team in their under-18 program before being drafted number 1 and playing in the NHL last season. Hughes had 34 goals, 78 assists, and 112 points in just 50 games playing for the United States Development Program and Under-18 team just a few seasons ago before coming into the National Hockey League. It was an extremely impressive point total because he ended up breaking the record of Patrick Kane and Clayton Keller, having the most points out of any player for the U.S. Development Program Under-18 team. Hughes, however, is one of the only players to go straight to the NHL from the Under-18 development program rather than go play Division I college hockey for a year or two, or play major juniors in Canada, or play over in Europe or Russia, as many of the other, actually all of the past 10 number 1 overall picks did at some point. Playing for the Under-18 team, Hughes was playing against some of the best prospects from other countries' Under-18 teams, also the USHL, Tier 1 Junior Hockey League in the United States, and some college teams. Although this was the case, it still isn't quite the same as being a part of another team in, say, the NCAA or the Canadian Hockey League in some form. Hughes ended up having no points in his first 7 NHL games, and just 7 goals, 14 assists, and 21 points in 61 games played with the Devils. He also happened to have the worst plus-minus on the team, a minus 26. Although this was the case, Hughes definitely didn't have too much help as the Devils struggled pretty much throughout the entire season, going 28, 29, and 12 with 68 points, finishing 26th out of 31 teams in the NHL standings. They also had just 189 goals for, 25th in the league, and 230 goals against for 29th of 31 teams in the NHL. They were also well out of the playoffs by Christmas with a 12-19-6 record by December 27th. And their leading scorer on the team had just 45 points. It was Kyle Palmieri. If you look at the past 10 number 1 overall picks in the NHL, all of them went straight to the NHL after being drafted. But Jack Hughes had the lowest points per game total out of all of these players with a .344 point per game average, even lower than defenseman Aaron Ekblad and Rasmus Dahlin, who were just ahead of him. Also lower than his Devils teammate in 2017 first overall pick Nico Hischier, and one of the biggest busts in NHL history, Nail Yakupov. But despite the numbers, I'm not giving up hope on Jack Hughes as an NHL player, as he is just 19 years old and was 18 years old for the entirety of his first NHL season. And although he was tied for 16th in terms of rookie point leaders in the NHL, he was one of just 3 18-year-olds who played in the National Hockey League during the 1920 season. Hughes, with 21 points, was not far behind other top draft picks, including Kaapo Kakko, who was drafted 2nd overall and had 23 points, and Kirby Dach, who was drafted 3rd overall and also had 23 points. All of the top 10 rookie point leaders during the 1920 season were at least 20 years of age, including Jack's brother Quinn, who led all rookies in point scoring with 53 points as a 20-year-old. Now let's take a look at some of the player comparisons to Jack Hughes, some of the players that most resemble Jack Hughes' game in terms of the way he plays and also his smaller statures. Jack Hughes stands at 5'10", 170 pounds. One of the most lofty comparisons would have to be comparing Jack Hughes to Patrick Kane, which is one of the comparisons that got made during the 2019 NHL draft, likely because of the similarity in their height and weight, as well as their play style before coming into the NHL, and due to the fact that they are both American-born players. So during Kane's 18-year-old year, he was playing for the London Knights in the Ontario Hockey League and put up 145 points in 58 games. So his first season in the NHL, he was already 19 years old and had a great rookie season, putting up 21 goals, 51 assists for 72 points in 82 games. I feel it is pretty difficult to compare Jack Hughes at this point in his career to one of the best and arguably the best American-born player of all time, Patrick Kane. But they are both very skilled players, great playmaking ability, and they both prefer to set up their teammates oftentimes rather than score goals. Another player that you could potentially compare Hughes to is, in my opinion, the Canadian version of Patrick Kane, and it's Mitch Marner. And he also, like Kane, spent his 18-year-old season playing for the London Knights, racked up 116 points in 57 games played. And then his first season in the NHL, he was also 19 years old, put up very similar numbers to Kane, 19 goals, 42 assists, 61 points, and 77 games played. The next comparison would likely be a lot closer than these past two to Jack Hughes and the player that he has the potential to become, but it is Johnny Gaudreau. And this is an interesting case because he did not play in the NHL until he was 21 years old, as he spent 3 years at Boston College. And when he was an 18-year-old, he put up 44 points in 44 games for BC, and then spent 2 more years lighting it up at Boston College before signing with the Flames and having a fantastic rookie season at 21 years old, significantly older than Jack Hughes was during this season. Gaudreau had 24 goals, 40 assists for 64 points in his first full NHL season in 80 games. Jack Hughes still has 2 more seasons before he gets to the age of 21, where Johnny Gaudreau played his first full NHL season. Just to put that into perspective a little bit more. Now for the comparison that I think is the closest to Jack Hughes at this point, and it was made a little bit before the draft and currently, but it's Clayton Keller. These guys both had extremely similar numbers, playing for the U.S. development program in separate years. When Keller was a 17-year-old, he played for the same team that Jack Hughes played for and put up 37 goals, 70 assists for 107 points in 62 games played. Then he spent his 18-year-old season at Boston University, putting up 45 points in just 31 games. And he spent his first full season in the NHL at 19 years old and put up 23 goals, 42 assists for 65 points in 82 games. I feel like Keller and Hughes are very similar, and I would not be surprised if they have similar numbers in comparison down the road in their careers, including even as soon as next year or the year after for Jack Hughes. One last comparison I'd like to make, although he is a defenseman, he is Jack Hughes' brother. It's Quinn Hughes, and he played his 18-year-old season at the University of Michigan, putting up 29 points in 37 games, then spent 1 more year at Michigan, honing in his skills and continuing to develop as a player, and then spent his first full season in the NHL this year at 20 years of age and led all rookies in scoring with 8 goals, 45 assists for 53 points in 68 games played. So if you're wondering why Jack Hughes had such a rough first season, a lot of it has to do with how young he was. Probably one of the youngest first overall picks, and I think he's the only first overall pick that I can remember to hop straight into the NHL from the United States national team. I don't think any other player has done that. So in conclusion, I do not think that Jack Hughes will be a bust in the NHL. I think because of the situation that he had playing for the Devils this year and all the pressure that was on him, being such a high pick and stepping into the league at 18 years old, I feel like that weighed him down just a little bit this season, which led to his such low point totals and rough first year. Do I think Jack Hughes will be the next Patrick Kane? No. Do I think Jack Hughes will be the next Nail Yakupov? No. I think he will be somewhere in the middle, probably closer to a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins type of player. I think he has the potential to put up better offensive numbers than Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And the player that I compare him to closest in the NHL, like I mentioned earlier, is Clayton Keller. I feel like these two guys play very similar styles of play and will put up similar numbers in the NHL very soon. I think Jack Hughes has the potential to still be a point per game player in the National Hockey League, and I think he just needs a little bit more time to develop. And is there really a better development league than the NHL? I guess we'll see in the next couple years. Please comment down below who you think compares to Jack Hughes the closest in the NHL, and please subscribe to the channel to support. Thank you guys for watching.